I'm delighted to welcome you all at our third session. It is a lot more informal than previous two, and now we will listen to those people who work in digital segment, who have first-hand experience with the digital trends. And I will not be the only moderator of this session, and I'm delighted to invite my colleague, co-moderator of this session, Petr Kostakov, the head of Profi.Travel. Hello to you all. I was looking forward to meeting you here during this informal session. And a little shortly after, I'll tell you about the backstage of Profit loyalty system. And our first speaker today is, so not today, but within this session, is one of the headliners of our conference. This is the person with whom we caused a lot of hype last week, Dmitry Perunov, ex-head of marketing department of Profi.Travel. And last week we got a fantastic interview with him, within which he shed some light upon what it feels like when you are a marketing director of a big travel agency. That interview had a very big reach, more than 100 likes and a lot of comments. But I do believe that listening to Dmitry live will be even more fascinating. Dmitry, the floor is yours. Good afternoon to you all, dear friends. I'm delighted to see you all here. A lot of familiar faces. Let's do a bit warm-up after the coffee break. Those who are marketing people, who are tour operators. Okay, less. Do we have travel agents?
Yeah,
That's great. The only travel agent, so we are here for you. And I will be speaking to you. What's your name? Olga. Which travel agency you are from? Online tours. Excellent. Do you know that agency? Yes. Great. So operators know this travel agency, which is very positive, but not a lot of you are acquainted with Olga, which is not good. Okay, had you not been here, travel agencies would not have been represented at this conference, which is an interesting point to note. Before I start, I would like to say one thing. As every time, which is the same thing is said over and over again during the Oscar winning ceremony. I would like to thank management of Profi.Travel for giving me an excellent opportunity to pilot those projects which we had. So a couple of words of gratitude. I'd like to thank the leadership and my team. My team put a great faith into me, and I would not be able to do anything without them. We've done a lot of projects together, and we have even delivered the impossible. So I don't have a lot of time. Somehow, headliner ended up with just having 10 minutes. What are the key questions every marketing person should ask a tour operator or travel operator? What you should ask to your marketing people? Who is paying your salary? If the person tells you that it is the finance CFO or the accountant, or if that's the answer, let them go. They are not your people. They don't belong with your organization. So who is paying salary? Exactly right, the customer. And we have only one representative from the customer side here. This is Olga. So, our key customer is the travel agency. So those of you who work on the B2C market, your key customer is the tourist. Those of you who work in the mixed markets, well, that depends. So the answer seems to be pretty straightforward. We are being paid by the customer. And here comes my second question. And this is what all to travel operators say. We are customer-focused or customer-oriented company. All companies, without fail, make that statement. Then I ask a question. Are you focused on this customer? This customer should come to you, bring a contract, sign this contract, bring a stamp, get the contract stamped, go through all the bureaucratic procedures, and after that you will give login and password to this customer. You're not customer focused at all. Another company who made the same point, we are customer focused, and then they release a video in which they just make a point that their customers attended their event only for the purpose of having a snack. This is not being customer focused at all. Or that may mean focusing on a wrong customer. Or another situation, which happened when I just joined Choral team, there was a girl in the team who put a phone down on somebody and who said, "I'm sick and tired of this guy." And I came to her and I told her, this is not the way to talk about your customers, because these customers are paying you the salary. So I made the same point over and over again, 3 or 4 times. Then I had to let her go. So what's the point? Do not discuss your customers. If your customers are no good, say no to them. Let them go. Send them to ICS. Lera will find a way to deal with them. Lera loves her customers. But so if you believe that customer is wrong in something, that is not your customer, let that customer go, simply because you will not be able to keep working with him any longer. So what results do you expect in a week, in 1 month, in a year from now? So that's the key question to ask. Sergey, you should be asking this question. What do you want me to deliver in 1 week, in 1 month, or in 1 year after I join the team? This is extremely important. You need to answer these questions at least to yourself. So what are your aspirations? If somebody has just told you, stay in the office, and that will be fine, do not believe in it. Just get some figure assigned to this, to your objective. Customer growth, sales growth. Should it be there? Or probably you will be measured in likes, who know. I don't think it is right to measure things in likes, but that's a different story. We'll talk about it. And the final question, how do I prove that I'm right? All marketing people stumble over this question because they start, so let's say you bring a good project and they say, let's have a karaoke. Okay, let's have a karaoke, but what's the point? And then you start explaining and getting out of your way to explain why we need this karaoke. And so, seriously, that's the key point. How do you prove your point? Do you use market surveys? Do you use figures? Do you use words and statements? Let's say, I've spent 20 years in marketing and I believe that's a cool idea. Or my mother told me that I should do this, or this is the tip I got at the conference, so please approve the 100,000 euro budget. So what do we know about the customer, and where does this knowledge come from? That's a very simple question. What do we know about the customer? If this is a travel agency, how many agencies we have? What do they think about? Who knows the maximum amount of information about your customers? There are only 2 companies, as far as I can see. No, 3. 3, great. Where do you come from? Belarus, Ukraine, they are very, very competitive. They have very competitive environment. So you should learn from them. And I'm serious. I'm serious because travel agents in Russia, they are like in a greenhouse. They have a very good time. So strategy and the team. It is a process. You need to be immersed in this process. You need to keep building your team and keep reviewing your strategy. What do you want your consumer to think about your customer in a week, in a month, and at the point of his death, so that he can even note that on the tombstone? How much profit are you going to generate? Let's say you want this. You want to work in B2B and B2C markets. You need to calculate how many B2B customers will leave you because of you switching to B2C, and how many new customers you are going to get in the B2C segment. Okay, you have made the calculations. So finally, marketing people have done some calculations. And now, and then you realize that B2C segment is a separate business, and let's all focus on something we specialize on, because you cannot keep surgeon working as a plumber, because and a bad surgeon will also make a bad electrician or a bad plumber. So I'm for division of labor and division of obligations. Travel agents should be selling things, and travel operators, tour operators, should be making sure that they deliver service. High quality service. Well, no, not high quality. A tour operator needs at least to be up to his promise. So there are slogans like, "We'll go beyond your expectations." Don't go beyond my expectations. Be at least in line with my expectations. Make sure that the customer takes off, lands in the airport, and gets to the hotel which is booked for him. So who is ready to go with you? That's a very simple question. Never mind what we are asking this question about, a team or customers. Skills and knowledge, this is something that you can work on, something you can improve. Marina Smirnova is here, and she joined Profi.Travel. She knew nothing about SMM. But as of today, this is the best expert in SMM travel segment, and they got employed in the following way. Are you ready? The question was, are you ready to take this on? Do you realize what you will have to do? Are you ready to commit to raising this reach level? Yes. And she risks a lot, because she leaves one company and gets employed by another. It is always a stressful situation. And she was very, very scared to fail. Everything else was second. YouTube, conferences, events. You can train people how to do this. If you're a marketing person, or if you are director of your own business, you've got to plan, then act, ideally, but actually not. Between planning and acting, there is a very important stage. Plan, motivate, act, analyze, correct mistakes, and get back to planning again. It's like a circle. I hate the word smart. You can keep using it, but I think it's completely idiotic. That word belongs with the past. It's an archaic concept today. MT are the key words. The task, the objective should be measurable and time-bound. That's it. That's a very straightforward task faced by all tour operators. Let's have an info tour or an advertising tour. That's pretty straightforward, isn't it? Let's send 30 people to Israel. But it is not measurable. How can you measure it? If you just, it needs to be measured in a meaningful way. And how do we do this? You need to measure it in rubles, because you get paid in rubles. So let's say, if we send them to Israel, then those 30 travel agencies should give us growth, 10%, 20%, 0.5%, whatever. But they should pay in the end of the day for this tour. And we need to define by when they should deliver this growth, in 1, 2, 300 years, whatever, or 3 months after they get back from Israel. So like for like can be calculated. So now let's talk about revelations or insights. It's difficult to call it an insight, actually.
Там не собираюсь вам рассказывать.
Его и не было. Я понимаю, жаль, но это другая передача, я пойду на НТВ или...
And actually, I'm not going to tell you about everything that I know, because some of this is relevant to some other shows. It's just a simple case which assured about 40% of growth for a company. You're all familiar with the Pareto rule, 20 per 80. 20% of your clients bring 80% of your revenue. But there's also another rule, 5 to 50. 5% of your clients bring 50% of your revenue. Back in 2013, and well, now you can divide those numbers by half, but then there were 44,000 tourist agencies in Russia. And today, if I'm not mistaken, it's about 16 to 20,000. So there were 44,000 tourist agencies, and just 2,000 agencies did 50% of the sales. So what's the rule? You should work with category A agencies, and they will grow. It's not as simple as that, because of course there was growth, but unfortunately, per every 2,000 agencies, well, for those 2,000 agencies, there was great pressure which was put on them, because then there was the invitation from the second tourist operator, the third, the fourth, the fifth one, and the loyalty rate was very small. So what they came up with, 95% of clients have a great potential of growth. These are the so-called B and C categories. These are agencies which are not often invited to various events. They are just some ordinary run-of-the-mill agencies, but they have the greatest growth potential. Let me give you one multiplier, which is called stability. What does it mean? When you divide your database into categories, you can look into each category. How long has a certain agency been working with us? And it turned out that throughout 12 months, how many tourist agencies worked with us? Over 12 months. Maybe one order, but every month. What do you think? Was it 1,000, 2,000, 320? The correct answer is 8. 8 agencies. Only 8 tourist agencies worked with us every month. And this is the so-called multiplier stability. Because, of course, tourist agencies sometimes go from one operator to another, and sometimes it's not loyal to its partner. And for you to understand, this stability multiplier has a great effect on the sales revenue. So it's sufficient to retain any of your partners who's been working with you for just 1 month. And then this partner will work for 2 months with you. The one who worked 2 months will work 3 months, and so on. So it might seem quite simple in figures, but how should we do this? And this is what we did. A kind of elite club was created, an elite club of choral. So how did we create it? First, we decided what were the main problems of a tourist agents. And first of all, what's the headache of a tourist agent? What does a tourist agent think about? Its reliability, once, the commission, two. And now let's think about who of our customer-oriented agencies decrease their commission. Because if someone is client-focused, he should cut down the commission, but take into account I'm a client-oriented customer. So we found out those headaches of our partners. Of course, it was about commission, but the main problem was that they didn't know how to attract and retain customers. They just thought about how to develop. So how to resolve this problem? They just wanted to organize some short webinars, workshops, and so on. So a series of training events focused on how to attract a customer, both offline and online, with various tools. What are the stages of creating this club? What are the rules of participation in the club? So you should say some very simple rules with this club. You should not just tell them that certain guys who ensure a certain sales volume can stay in this club. But you can tell them, for example, the following rules. The leaders can join this club. The agencies that are growing can join this club. So describe those rules. What's the plan for the events in this club? You can actually write this information. You can join this club and we'll have these or those events. Very often you have some meeting rooms which are empty. Give them to business coaches. Let's make them clubs. And then you will have a center of gravity. You don't really need this meeting room, but the business coach will really need it. The coaches don't want to rent a venue or a room. They just can use those meeting rooms. And then people know about you. They start to hear about you. And then you need to decide how to build the communications channels with the members of the club. For example, you can say that at the initial stage, everyone can join it, every tourist agent. But I don't think it's the right way to do it. You need to have your close group where you will communicate, and there should be certain rules which will allow people to join this club, and if they violate some rules, they will go out of the club. They will leave it. So what can you do there within that club? Joint views of films. We calculated that we had about 400 leaders, and we needed a big venue. Award ceremonies. It's also very important, because without this award, the tourist agencies do not understand where they are standing, because there is no notion of benchmarking on the tourism sector, because in the banking sector, for example, you can compare the KPIs of any bank with the KPIs of any other bank, but tourist operators don't have them. Business breakfasts, that's quite clear. Joint trading marketing campaigns. I understand I still have 3 minutes to go. An expert club, what does it mean? It means that you can provide certain people who become opinion leaders. They are often very popular on Facebook. You can find those opinion leaders. So invite them, talk to them. You will learn a lot of new things about the market. And then you will know who did what, and they will tell you how you should change. Digital communications, well, I'll try to make it within 3 minutes. Closed groups on Facebook, Kontakty, Odnoklassniki. Some people don't use Odnoklassniki, but they shouldn't do this, because sometimes Odnoklassniki is more important because there is a lot of trash. It's full of kittens and something else. So really, this audience is hungry for information. Monitoring and analysis on the network. If you don't know how you are mentioned in the web, then you don't know anything about your company. There are programs like IQ Buzz, Webkey, and so on. Press releases on websites of dedicated portals. You should do this because then you allow your quote index to grow up. Photos with watermark. You should place them with watermark because when you start reposting something, so there should be some watermark, like Profi.Travel and so on, because this will increase your recognizability. Written and video feedback, it's paramount, because there were 30 or 40 people there. Just put a camera. Sometimes cameras provide very high quality. Take a film. Ask someone. For example, Valerie, what do you think about this conference? Wow, it's cool. Just take these clips. Maybe we should take interviews from Valerie or Sveta or anyone else. Everyone will say, this is great, this is cool. Not many people will say this is trash. And even when tomorrow they are asked, you were there and we weren't there, so what's your feedback? If she didn't give this interview, she can say the truth, it was trash. But if she provided this interview, she will think, I gave an interview yesterday, I can't say this was trash. And in the worst case, she will say, it was okay. So she will actually increase her evaluation of this event. And furthermore, it's a personalized distribution, like MailChimp. And of course, you should know the names of your customers, the names of those people to whom you are sending those emails. And there are services like SurveyMonkey, Google Forms, and so on. It's very important. NPC, this is the index that you should measure every month. The index CSR should be done on a quarterly basis, and you should bring your partners in those leaders clubs. The principles of communications, don't do it like this. I am a participant, and who are you? I am an expert, and who are you? I'm a nominee, and you, what about you? So you should always try to make people want to get in the highest category. Then they will budge. Club A are really advanced guys. They are not going to be left behind. They will increase their sales to really remain in this club because they are used to that status.
Okay. Results: 60% growth in sales. That's true among customers category B and C, because they wanted to join this A club. Club sales went up by 20% simply because they didn't want to adopt new members. They say it's our community, we don't want you here. This is why they wanted to raise sales, and they accused me of, let's say, selling membership in this A club, which was totally untrue. And final sales growth was 40%, and the increase of the goodwill, simply because that company caught a lot of attention. So briefly, this is what we need to do. We need to live and love and be happy. We are selling happiness, just like drug dealers. And I wish us all success in our difficult business. Thank you very much, Dmitry. And we have one question. Do we have one question for Dmitry? Very good question, and the answer is very, very simple. Unfortunately, as you remember, there was a conflict with Turkey, and Turkish companies working here almost all got closed. So that was a real situation, but until then, we were getting close to an oligopoly. And if that thing didn't happen, then there would be only 3 operators in the market: Annex, Coral, and Pegas. All others would be obliterated. By that time, BG was ailing together with Transaero, and there was only one day when they decided, within that day, they decided to stay in the market. So unless Turkish operators were jeopardized by that move, because, however, there is a number of other companies who played differently. And that's what happened to me. I'm an active person, so, and if you take a look at my record, I was around for 2 or 3 months, and they told me, don't advertise us anywhere. But that's an oxymoron, wasn't it? It's like buying a Ferrari and keeping it in your garage. So I've hijacked myself from that company.